Hi, this is Donna, creator of the Waldorf Connection and author of the Waldorf Homeschool Handbook. And I'm here on our second video to be talking about the 5 pitfalls to avoid so that you won't be so overwhelmed, so you won't be wasting time and just feeling really frustrated when you're trying to teach first grade. Now, on our video number 1, I talked about the challenges that you're having when you are coming to the first grade. And I know that you guys are going through this whole, oh my gosh, this seems so overwhelming. And I spoke about what I really want for you is to create an amazing homeschool that you love, that you can't wait to get up in the morning and say, woohoo, let's go, and all of that. And so we're gonna go through these 5 pitfalls on this video so that I can shed some light on what they might be so you can look out for them. Maybe you've already experienced some of them, or if not, I don't want you to experience them. So I'm going to give you a tip for each one on a way to get started with them. They are pretty big topics, but I'm going to give you something that you can take away and bring back and start working on right away so that you won't fall into these traps. All right, so let's get started. Number 1 is understanding it all. And in this, I sort of a twofold piece here. You need to understand what you are doing as the teacher in your day-to-day practical lessons. Like, you need to understand the material you're teaching. You need to understand what a main lesson block is, how to do the chalkboard drawings, and how to plan your year and all of that. And then you also need to understand like the theory of Waldorf. Like, why did Rudolf Steiner say to do this or that? You know, what is behind the theory of Waldorf? Because it is an amazing way of learning and teaching, but there is a lot to it. It's a whole study, anthroposophy in itself. And so in order for you to really kind of get the behind the scenes magic, is what I call it, of the magic of Waldorf and how it works, you really need to know some certain things. You don't need to know everything, but you need to know how it works, so that you can go back and explain it to your family and your spouse, and so that you yourself just understand. I know for me, I wanted to know, why do we teach knitting in the first grade? And so once I understand, okay, we do it because blah, 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 that makes it a lot better for me. And I go, okay, good. Then I understand that I need to know the facts behind why I'm doing it. And it makes it a lot easier for me. And it brings a little extra something to my teaching, because I know that we're doing this for a reason. So you can catch all of Rudolf Steiner's teachings at the rsarchives.org. You can catch all of his, they're there on PDF, and you can read through them. It is a hard read to look through Steiner's teachings for sure. What I've tried to do in my programs and in my curriculum is to kind of give you the Cliff Note version, or the highlights. And I don't mean to sound disrespectful in any way, but it is a lot when you start to read Steiner. So I try to bring just the pieces that you need right now to understand and give you a glimpse into it. And then if you want to go further into reading, it's amazing and it's all there for you. But you don't need to study anthroposophy for 2 years in order to dive into teaching Waldorf. So I try to give that little Cliff Note version and really give you exactly what you need to understand when you're getting started to teach the grades in first grade. So my tip for you on this is to go out and learn. You really just need to find a resource that will help you understand the basics of Waldorf theory and how that relates to your homeschool teaching. Okay, pitfall number 2 is artistic skills. And this is a really big one that I hear from a lot of my moms who say, I don't know anything about painting, I'm not creative, I'm not artistic, I can't sing, and all of those things. Because you will find that when you're starting first grade, all those things that you've been looking about in blogs and research in books, all of it culminates into, oh my gosh, now I have to teach it all this year. I have to put all that stuff into play. I have to know how to draw those chalkboard drawings. How do I make these Waldorf people in my main lesson book? How do I use the paint, and how do I use the beeswax, and how do I tell a story? So it can seem very overwhelming, especially if you feel like you don't have artistic skills. So there are a couple ways to go here. One, look and see, okay, do I have any of the skills that are required? You know, maybe you can sing, or maybe you played an instrument, or maybe you're an artist of some kind. So if you have one of the skills, then you can say, okay, check, I have that, I can do that part. And then maybe look to one you don't have. For me, it was knitting. I did not know anything about knitting. I'd never picked up knitting needles. So I had to go to a knitting shop and learn how to knit. And then when I came back and started knitting at home, I just had to be a little bit ahead of my 7-year-old girls. So just think about, in any of these artistic skills, you just have to be a little bit ahead of a 7-year-old. So you don't have to be some master sculptor or master painter. You just have to know what you're doing and have a guide to follow. So the other way you can do it is to find someone else to help you. In a Waldorf school, doesn't do everything. They have a handwork teacher, they have a foreign language teacher, they have a music teacher, and so one person doesn't do all of it. So if you know someone who's artistic, if you have a grandmother or an aunt or a friend who can knit, and you want to help, have them come in and help teach your child, or you know a music teacher who teaches recorder or flute lessons, and you'd rather just have them do it. You don't have to do everything. It's not the same for those of us who are home teaching in our home. We have other things going on, and we don't just block out our day from 8 to 2 and say this is the time we teach. No, life is going on. You have a baby, you have animals, you have a part-time job or whatever. You're busy, and so I know that you can't just take up all these artistic skills and suddenly learn how to do everything all at once. So there's 2 ways that you can do it. Pick one skill and learn that, and then move forward maybe another month, find another one, or find someone else to help you through that. Okay, pitfall number 3 is that you are the vehicle. And this is a really big one because there are no textbooks. You can't just sit your child down at the table and have them open the workbook and start filling it in or watch the online video. It's all done through you, whether you're the mom or the dad or whoever is going to be doing the teaching. Through stories, through art, through singing, through music, through painting, and all those beautiful things that you love and were very attracted to and are great and are going to be so amazing for your child, but it all has to come through you. And if you say, I don't know anything about telling stories, I'm not sure I can do it, it has to do with confidence. It has to do with you being able to be grounded and say, I am prepared, I understand what I'm doing, and I can do it. And it is a little intimidating. I was very nervous when I started first grade. I don't think I'm gonna do this right. I just felt scared. And then after a couple weeks, I started saying, okay, this is fun, and I sort of have a handle on it now. And it didn't feel so bad. But up until then, it can feel like, I don't know how I'm going to balance everything. Your life is busy, so you need to have a good rhythm to your day. You need to have a good plan, planning out your entire year so you have a structure, having a curriculum that supports the way you want to teach and that gives you everything you need in one place. Having some guidance or help, having some time to yourself to do inner work and other things. You have to refuel your own tank. You can't give and be so exhausted and then add teaching to the mix. It just won't work. You have to be in a good place yourself to really be stepping into this role as your child's educator, because it's a high calling. You are responsible for this teaching, whether it's for 1 year or 12 years. You are the one who's going to create a foundation of learning for your child, and you want it to be you want to be covering all your bases. You want it to be fun. You want them to be enjoying it, and then you want them to be learning, right? You need to give them what they need so they can thrive. So you need to be prepared for it all falling on your shoulders, and that can feel like a lot of pressure. But if you have the support, if you have the tools, and you are prepared, then it's totally doable. Okay. Number 4 is, I call it sure looks different. And this is something kind of on the heels of what I was saying. It's very different from traditional school. It's very different from traditional homeschooling. And I have many homeschooling friends who don't use Waldorf, and what they do is totally opposite. So at first, when you get started, I remember when I started, I thought, I just have an enormous amount of stuff that I have to do. It's just too much. And then at the same time, when I actually started teaching the lessons, I thought, is this it? Is this all we do? This can't be it. Are we done by 12 o'clock? I mean, it's not enough, is it? So there's sort of this double-edged sword with it where it feels like too much, but it can't be just this. And I coach many moms on this. In fact, I had a mom who was telling me, she was one of my private clients, and she was telling me, I know we're not doing enough. I must be missing something. And I asked her to, over a week's time, write out everything that she was doing in a journal, what she thought could be considered school. And when we met the next week on the phone, she was like, you're right, we're doing so much. I just didn't realize it looks so much different. It's not this 8 to 2 sitting there filling out worksheets. No, it's out working in the garden, it's baking, it's going to the store and learning about budgeting. It's so many different things that you're giving your child, but they're life skills and they're things that you are going to bring that they will be using for the rest of their lives. You were attracted to Waldorf because it's different. And it's not a traditional school setting. You wanted something different, something holistic, and something that nourishes your child. So you have to be prepared that your school day and your school lessons are going to look a lot different than what you've probably gone through in a traditional school. And even a Waldorf school, you know, they're there for a regular school day, but in homeschooling it doesn't last that long, and it doesn't need to look like that, and it can look a lot different depending on you know, everyone's homeschool can look a little bit different. Everything is not just so, depending on schedules and everything. So in the pressure from parents and from spouses and from others, our culture of make sure they're, you know, not getting behind, they have to be ahead of others, and they have to keep up with the Joneses, and they have to have all this stuff, is kind of, you know, coming in at you from all sides. And you just have to kind of be prepared and confident enough to say, okay, I'm going to push all that stuff out of the way. I know this is what's feeling good in my heart that I want for my child. I want something different. And in order for it to be different, it has to look a little bit different. And it is a little bit of a learning curve, and it is a little bit more that you know, it's definitely more than a traditional homeschooling method. You're really bringing this essence of the arts and nature and this holistic learning. And so there is going to be a little bit more for you as the mom or dad to learn in order to do it. And it is going to look a little bit different. My suggestion for a tip on this is to talk to someone else who has been there and done that. Whether it's in a group, whether it's online, whether it's with a mentor, someone that you can ask questions and they say, oh yes, that's exactly what it's supposed to look like. Because then you feel okay, right? You don't feel like, oh my gosh, I'm the only one. Nobody knows what I'm doing. Nobody knows what a main lesson is, and I don't even know if I know. I mean, so you've got to have others who are like your sisters, right? Who are like, I've got your back. This is exactly what you're going through. And everyone goes through this when they start. I've seen it hundreds of times with the families that I've trained, that have gone through my programs, and they all are feeling this. So it's normal. But if you don't have others around you to tell you that, then you just feel like the oddball. So get some support, get someone else who you can, you know, ask questions to, and just will help guide you through it. Okay, the last but not least, in fact, I think this is the most important, and it kind of just comes in on what I was saying, is not to try to do this alone. So just think about a Waldorf teacher, or any teacher really. They're not just thrown into a classroom and say, okay, I hope you can figure this out. No, they go through years of college and teacher training and mentoring with those who have done it for years, who understand and who can show them step by step what they need to do and how to do it. It's the same with a job, right? You don't just go start on your first day and they just throw you in there, hopefully not. Someone sits with you, someone shows you and helps you when you make mistakes, and they correct you and say, okay, it'll be easier if you do it like this, and here's a shortcut to that. You're not just thrown in there. And as moms, I think because we just, you know, we think, oh, we can just parent, we just make things up on our own, we should be able to figure it out, and it's the same with homeschooling, and it's really not. I mean, I will say that everything that you need to know as far as, you know, Waldorf homeschooling is out there. It's online, you can look. You can, you know, you can find it all for free. You don't have to buy a single thing. You can make up your own lessons, your own curriculum, learn everything you need to know from free resources online. It is all there. but it will take you years to do it, because this is what I had to go through. It will take you a lot of time. And if you have all the time and you can do it, then great, because you will really, you'll know it. But most of us don't have that luxury. We have younger children that we have to teach and we have to take care of. Maybe you have animals, a farm, or a part-time job or a business. You're just busy, you're a single parent, whatever, and you just don't have unlimited time to just sit around. And I remember trying to read books and things when my kids were asleep, and I was like so exhausted. I was like, I'm not even getting this. I'm so tired. I don't have the energy to do that. So my big tip here is to find some training, to find some support, someone who will weed out, and this is what I have done through my training programs, through my curriculum. I weed out all the rest and say, if you are just starting first grade, here's what you need to do. If you are a mom with a younger child, here's what you need. You don't need everything. You just need what you need right now, the very first step, and then the next step, and the next step. It'll save you so much energy and so much time, and it'll be so much more enjoyable. My big motto is, I would rather have you use your time painting, knitting, playing, laughing, and just enjoying your child, actually teaching the lessons, than trying to figure out, trying to spend all that time just trying to figure it out, because it's like double the work. If you have to try to figure it all out, learn it all, and then go and do it, that's double. So what I've tried to do is kind of take that piece away, the trying to figure it out, and say, here's what you need to know. Follow this, follow this, follow this. So it saves you a ton of time, a ton of energy, and allows you to say, you know what, I really can do this because I feel like I have a support, I have a structure, instead of, I hope I'm doing all of this right. I'm not sure, but I hope so. And that can be really scary, and it can really cause you to second guess yourself and wonder, am I doing enough? Am I doing it right? Maybe my husband is right and I don't know, I can't do this. Maybe we need to switch and do some other type of school. Maybe I need to send them back to public school or whatever. And I don't like to see that. I want moms and families to be able to bring this amazing way of learning to their children and their family. So I've tried to create what I can to fill those gaps, to make it as step-by-step as possible. Waldorf is definitely not a 1, 2, 3, follow along, paint by numbers, but I've tried to break it down into chunks that is doable and that you can have something to follow so that it makes sense and that you can do it. Now, I'd love you to comment below on which one of these 5 pitfalls you think you may fall into, or perhaps you already have fallen into. And I'd love to hear your comments, and I'll go ahead and comment below as well. And we'll talk about it on the next video. All right, I'll see you then. Bye-bye.